friends, welcome back to my channel. This is Setting the Boards with Pairs, and today I'm going to show you how to check basic electronical components. Now, these components are components you always find on the PCB, and I'm just going to show you how to use your multimeter to check these components individually. I will start by introducing the components I will use for this tutorial and what are their functions on the board. So I start with the bridge rectifier. This bridge rectifier, you can see, is a T5SBA. You can put it in Google and check about it. But what it does is it breaks down AC to DC. So if you look closely on this bridge rectifier, you will see the plus and the minus signs, which are for the DC out, and the two sine waves, which are for the AC. So the AC comes here in and then it goes out in positive and negative. So that's what the bridge rectifier does in the circuit. You actually find these bridge rectifiers on switching power supplies and a lot of other PCB circuit boards. So the next component will be the fuse. So I will explain to you what the fuse is used. The fuse is used for current checking. When the current is higher than the normal current acceptable for the PCB, the fuse is gonna blow up. So the fuse is a protective measure on the board which checks and makes sure everything is working just as good as it should work. So one of the first things that you must know with fuses is they are very important in electronic circuits, and if they are blown up like this one, then they won't be able the circuit won't be able to switch on properly. So the next will be the capacitor. So the capacitor always has the capacitance and the voltage on the capacitor. Like this one is 470 microfarads and 16 volts. So this capacitor, what it does in the circuit, it charges up and gives power to the other electronic the electronic PCB components that don't usually require high capacity of power. So these capacitors come in different varieties. There's bigger ones that gives more power charge, and there's the smaller ones. Actually, a capacitor is an electronic component that keeps charge just for a very short time when it's not connected to the power source. So it charges quickly and it discharges very quickly as well. So the next component will be a resistor. So like this resistor, you can see it has the bands all over it. You can use the color code calculator to get the resistance of this calculator, or you can use the multimeter to just check the 2 points using the positive and the negative leads. So this is a resistor, and I will show you down the video how to check this resistor. So the next is the diode. A diode has two sides, the anode and the cathode. The anode having the black, the band, and the cathode is the positive. So it only lets current flow from anode to cathode without flowing the other way around. So the current on the diode only flows one side, and it helps to regulate current on the PCB. The next is the transistor, and they are used like switches on the PCB. This is a power transistor, this is a normal transistor, and they help to regulate power. They act like switches, they switch on and off to let the electronic PCB to turn on and to turn off. So without taking too much time, I'm gonna start going to how to check them one after the other. So we're gonna start with the bridge rectifier. The bridge rectifier will always check it using continuity mode or diode mode. You will have to check the continuity from the two sides, because when you are dealing with DC voltages, you don't want the positive to be shorted to the negative. So you don't want continuity from this point to this point. Remember, continuity is a mode of the multimeter which check that A is connected to B and there's no interference in the connection. So between plus and minus, we can use the diode mode or the continuity mode on the multimeter to check it. And what you want to be checking here is to make sure that these two pins are not connected, just like the live and the neutral are not connected. So I'm going to check it firstly with the continuity mode, and then secondly with the diode mode, and just to show you what the difference is like. So on continuity mode, you have to know when you touch the two leads, you should have a 0 ohms resistance, which is actually no interference, which means the two ends are connected properly. So I will start here, the positive on the positive side and the negative on the negative side. I didn't get any continuity beep like this one, so that means this bridge rectifier is working just well. So if I want to go further, I can do it on the AC, but it's not necessary. The most important thing is to know that the positive and the negative shouldn't be connected on the bridge rectifier, then it's broken. Same too for these 2 points, for the AC point. But most of the times, if you find faulty bridge rectifiers, it will always be mostly from the DC point, but the AC point can also have same problem. But always make sure to check for the continuity of the 2 points. There should be no continuity whatsoever between the points. And then we're gonna go now to the diode mode and check the same bridge rectifier. I'm gonna go with the positive and negative. There's nothing. I go one in there, nothing. I go one in there, nothing. I stand on negative, I go one in there, nothing. I go one in there, nothing. I just switch the leads, and then I know it should give you a voltage drop when you switch the leads. And then when you switch the leads, also this side you should get a voltage drop and not a beep sound. So that's also one way to check. When you switch the leads on one side, if you put the positive and the negative and you check all three, you can properly check the bridge rectifier to make sure it's proper and it's working. Okay, so the next one is going to be the fuse. So I have 2 fuses here, the green and the red fuse. So the green fuse is broken while the red fuse is working. So one of the first things that you need to do when you are checking electronical components is to know that the visual inspection is very important. You can check just the PCB or the circuit board or whatever component you're working on. You just have to check it physically, because if you look closely between these 2 fuses, you will see the green one is broken inside while the red one is still fine. Now they are all the same, they are not the same, but this is a 30 amp fuse and this is a 10 amp fuse. These fuses are being used for cars, and most of the times it's nice to know how to check them when you go into your fuse box. So the first thing is the manual inspection. When you're done checking it, then you can check it with the multimeter. And the fuse, we always check the fuse with the multimeter with the continuity mode. Now you can check the fuse even with the resistance mode, because the fuse shouldn't have resistance between the 2 points. And that is for people that understand the multimeter so well. But the main basic thing that you need to know is continuity mode will do the job for you. So between the 2 points, I should get a beep sound. I should get a beep sound because a fuse must be connected between the 2 points. But here I don't get a beep sound, and on the good fuse I get a beep sound. And if you check there on the multimeter, you see I get 0 ohms resistance, which is how you check a fuse. But on this one, you won't get the reading, and because the fuse is broken and it's obviously bad. So the next will be a resistor. Now there are so many types of resistors. There's the flat resistors with numbers on it. There's the SMD resistors. Then there's the one with the color code. There's other type of resistors, but I'm gonna focus with this one with the color code today. It's just for illustration purposes. So the resistor, I'm gonna check it with the resistance, the ohms settings, which is resistance. So it's automatically on mega ohms. I know this is a 47 ohm resistor. You can see the multimeter adjusted automatically to the right ohm setting, because it was on mega ohms, but automatically it goes to 47.2 ohms. That is why when you are measuring resistance, it's always nice to put it on the highest, and when you are measuring something that is lower than the mega ohms, it's going to show you automatically without no hassle. So that's how you check resistors through the resistance mode. And I'll go to the next, which is the diodes. Now diodes, I said earlier, they only transfer current from only one-sided, meaning current can only flow from A to B without flowing backwards from B to A. So there are different types of diodes. There's a shocky diode which can let current flow from A to B and B to A, but this is a normal diode, and this diode, it has a number written on it. I think this is a 1N diode. Yeah, it's a 1N, there's 2N diode, but you can always check on the electronical components, apart from the resistors which have the color codes or the numbers, but the diodes will always show you what type of diode is it. You have to check it If you have to check the diode, we just have to go to the diode mode on the multimeter. The diode mode where you put the red lid on the side without the band, and the black lid with the side with the band. So how do we check the diode? We just go with the red lid that side and the black lid this side. And you see it has a voltage drop of 0.542. Now, if you learn more about diodes, you will know that that's a positive, that's a good voltage drop. A good diode should have a voltage drop from 0.3 to like, I think 0.6. So that is a good voltage drop, and meaning that is a working diode. If you get something like 0.1 or 0.00, then something is wrong. You need to change the diode, it's faulty, and it needs to be replaced. Okay, the next one on my list will be the capacitors, which is the capacitance mode. The capacitance mode, it's not found on every multimeter, but capacitors can also be checked using ESR meters, which are much more accurate. But a fluke meter will also give you accurate microfarads test, which will help you to see if it's a good or a bad capacitor. So this capacitor, it is 470 microfarads and 16 volts. I'm just going to show you how I check it and to make sure that it is that amount that I get on the multimeter. So this amount, this 470 microfarads, this number, you can either have plus minus 5%. That means it mustn't go less than 5% or more than 5%. Then you will know it's a working capacitor. And all the times when you're checking electronic components, especially capacitors, you always find the bump. And when you see that bump, you will know the capacitor is not working nicely. So like, here is an example of a capacitor which is faulty. You can see that bump on the, you can see that bump on the capacitor. This is a faulty capacitor. And this is also a 470 microfarad 25 volts. But whenever you see the bump, these bump capacitors can cause the PCB to stop functioning, and it's always nice to check and make sure with a visual inspection to make sure that the capacitor is not having any bump or is not swelling whatsoever. So without taking so much time, I'm just going to check this capacitor. Let's see the reading. So to check the capacitor with a multimeter, you must identify this sign with the stripes. This is the negative. The gray with the stripes is the negative, and this is the positive. So to check this, you just need to put the negative probe on the negative and the positive probe on the positive, and then you're going to get the reading. So I get a 465, which goes down to 454, 456. It's not bad. It's within the plus minus 5% range. It's a good capacitor and it can be used. So that's how you check capacitors with your multimeter. And I'm going to go to the next and the last, which is the transistors. Now the transistors, you need to first of all identify what component are you dealing with. Like here is the A1695. I know this is a power transistor. It's used to amplify sound. Most amplifier circuits use this transistor. I'm going to show you how you can check this transistor using your multimeter. So the first thing you want to identify, you must know the transistor work with three: the gate, the drain, and the source. So I know the drain is in the middle, and the gate and the source will be one of these two. So what I do is I always put the black lid first in the middle, and then I go on diode mode. You must put your multimeter on diode mode, your black lid in the middle, and then you touch one side, and then you touch the other side. Now you must know these transistors, they come in twos. You have the NPN and the PNP. That's why I always start with the black probe, because this is negative. If it was PNP, I should put the positive in the middle, and then I'll get the reading. So this is a PNP transistor, because PNP stands for positive, negative, positive. The negative, in the place of negative, you test with the positive lead to get the reading on the PNP. But when it's an NPN, you will have to swipe it around and put a black probe on the middle, and then use the red probe to check around. So that's how you check electronic components using a multimeter. Hope you learned something new. If you did, do more to subscribe to our channel for more interesting videos on the way. Have a nice day and bye-bye.